Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and today I'm going to be ranking all the decks in the format that have cards from Twilight Masquerade, or rather are what I consider new decks, decks that are vastly changed or improved from Twilight Masquerade. So these are the decks I'm going to be covering today. Leave below in the comment section if you think there are any decks that I should cover here that I haven't, and I will probably leave that in a pinned comment if there are any decks that I forgot. I don't think I forgot any. I'm not covering Gardevoir. Yes, I know. Like, yeah, you can play. I got the full second list here as well. But yes, you can play like Hyper Aroma, and there are new cards for Gardevoir. But I mean, generally, it's looking like this. Actually, no. I changed my mind. I literally changed my mind at the last second. Gardevoir, it's making the list. Monkey Dory, new card, really important for the deck. So I changed my mind. I hope I didn't miss any decks here. Obviously, pretty much every deck can play cards from the new set, especially with a bunch of new ace specs and just is it a big set? It felt like a big set. It was a really good set, a good size set, but certainly ace specs spice things up a lot. And there are new cards you can put. Blood Moon Ursaluna EX is a really good card from the set. You can put in a lot of decks. Same thing with Tatsugiri, very versatile. Not necessarily good in everything, but can be played in a bunch of things. But decks like Raging Bolt EX paired with Ogerpon EX, new card. Teal Mask Ogerpon EX, I should specify. And that's just really good because it changes the deck a lot. It's really cool. And some of them don't change the deck a lot, like Snorlax here. And then some are completely new, like Dragapult EX is just a new Pokemon. So I will be doing SABCD. This is how they'd fit into the actual meta, but obviously there are decks here there are decks in the meta that aren't on here. Charizard DX decks, Chimpo Excalibur, whatever. There's a bunch of them. So first deck we have Gardevoir. I feel like putting an S tier is, or okay, I might actually shift decks up a little, but not that much. Gardevoir is certainly an S tier deck, arguably the best deck in the game. I think it is. It's a single prize deck. It's a slow deck, which is kind of weird. It's not the slowest deck on this list by any means, but it's the slowest like normal deck, I guess. So you manually evolve. You are not ever attacking before turn two going second. That's if you technical machine evolution into Curlia's Curlier, probably two. Turn one going second, and then turn two going second. You can then evolve into your Gardevoir EX. But even that's not like super common. You could go first, attack turn three. There are some different things you can do there. But generally, the deck is it's a slower deck, but you're a single prize attacker that can one shot everything. It's really good. And then you do have the addition of Monkey Dory, which allows you to it does a bunch of things. It allows you to do more damage, but it also allows you to kind of counter spread options. Spread is pretty solid in the game right now. Lost One's not on this list, but that's a pretty popular deck, and it does have spread options. And then Dragapult EX, very popular. Not the most popular deck in the game by any means. It is actually, let me check. In the tournaments, it's the sixth most popular, but still played. Let's see, I'm going to combine related decks. This will give us a better idea. So then it's the third most played 10% of the time. Wow, that's actually played a lot more than I was expecting because there's a lot of different builds of Dragapult. You compare it with Charizard EX, you compare it with Lost Zone, you compare it with Pidgeot, you compare it with I don't think people would play it with Barrel, but you compare it with Zadu. There's a lot of different ways to play it. So that's really popular and really scary, but you are able to counter that spread in some ways with Monkey Dory, Gracilia, stuff like that. And so it's a really cool deck. It's not my deck. It's not a deck that I really play, but it's an interesting deck and a really powerful deck. Then the other S tier deck is going to be. Actually, no, I'm not going to put another S tier deck. I don't think. We'll see if I end up switching things around. Then make sure you watch the video all the way through because sometimes I switch stuff around, but I might have some like unique explanation that people get confused by if they don't watch. Also, make sure you subscribe. Yay. Anyway, let's get back into things. So I'll just go in order. Raging Ball Ogerpon is a so I think a lot of people know I don't like this deck that much. Raging Bolt EX, it's fighting lightning on an ancient Pokemon, so you Sawdust Vitality, accelerate energies, but it's a very linear deck, and it limits your options in a lot of ways because it's so linear, and it's a lot of like combo pieces. It's kind of interesting. It's really powerful, and it just can one shot everything from nothing, which is really nice. And it's relatively tanky for a basic deck. It's not like the tankiest deck in the game by any means, but it's a for like a it has a bunch of bulk, especially if you are sticking a Bravery Charm or even Ancient Booster Energy Capsule on a Raging Bolt EX, because then you're pushing 300 HP there. So 300 and even above 250, that's just really difficult to one shot for a lot of decks. Certainly some decks can one shot it. But Raging Bolt EX is really good in that regard, but it has a bad late game because it lacks a strong onboard engine. It has the Ogerpon EX, the Teal Mask Ogerpon EX, which accelerates the grass energy from your hand to itself, draws you a card, and there's Radiant Greninja, which discards an energy from your hand to draw two. But those are your only draw engine Pokemon outside of Squawkabilly EX turn one. So if you're like hit with a late game Iono, it can be really sketchy, but you can draw out of it. So that's something I don't like about the deck, where it feels like kind of random. If you get hit by a late game Iono, there's like deck thinning, stuff like that. But it still is somewhat random. But it depends. It struggles a lot against single prize decks and decks with certain types of walls. You can really hit through any wall. I mean, Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX just hits through walls, but generally it will struggle against certain just different things that you're just not prepared for, which is, um, if you're up against like a two prizer, you can just like one shot all the two prizers, especially something like some stage 2 EX like Dragapult EX. Charizard EX, you can just really hit through it and plow through that. But then things can just go wrong. So I'll put it in C tier. I'm not a big fan of it, as I said, because so much can go wrong, right? And when you are working, you're a very strong deck, but things seem to be going very well, right? And as the meta's developed as well, like originally it was just Raging Bolt, and if this deck was in the past meta with Ogerpon, you could just like destroy everything. The meta game of pre-Twilight Masquerade, because it was Charizard everywhere, you just destroy Charizard, but it's not. And even Charizard, you struggle to Gust as well. That's another thing, because you're playing a supporter every turn that's not boss. Then you have to find some other way to Gust. You can't really use counter catchers because you're so aggressive. So you have that one prime catcher, which some lists don't even play because you do want consistency with Sucrepox. So, it's not a bad deck. I'm saying a lot of bad stuff about it. It's not that bad. It's certainly playable, but certainly not a deck I'd recommend if you want to have the best odds of winning, but it's a very solid deck. Then we have Regidrago Box. I think Regidrago Box is... I like this deck. I like it more than Raging Bolt Ogerpon. It's a more fun deck. I think most people like it more. I think Regidrago is like a really beloved deck by the community because it's funny. Regidrago V-Star copies Dragon Pokemon you just compile. It has so many options. It can do it can't do everything Raging Bolt Ogerpon can with it to the same speed, but it can do damage and stuff. It is tankier. It's not like a super tanky deck, but it's pretty tanky. With this Gudra V-Star copying that, you take 80 less, you have 280 HP. So just like, I mean, that's higher than really any other Pokemon on this list. So that's really good. And you do have certain walls. Raging Bolt Ogerpon, if you're getting walled by like Northern EX, Frigiraf EX, stuff like that. Then you're struggling. So Regidrago B-Star or whatever playing Northern can wall it off. So you have that walling option against that deck. Again, certain Lost Zone things, certain just a good chunk of decks here, any future ancient-based tech. So you can wall those. So you have a lot of versatility, but you have like inconsistencies as well. It's not that inconsistent, but it's not that consistent either. You can certainly struggle. It's probably the most inconsistent deck on this list, to be honest. I don't know. It's certainly close. So, and again, you don't have a great late game. You aren't discarding all your energy every time you attack, and you're probably surviving a hit. Though not always, but usually. I'll put it in B tier. It's pretty close to Raging Bolt Ogerpon. To me, they're not this. They're attacking like they have the same attacker, kinda. They have both a Raging Bolt. Generally, you don't have to play Raging Bolt EX and Regidrago, but it's good. But yeah, I think this is fine. They're pretty close together though. I could see them either both in B or both in C. And this is by the way a competitive tier list. It's not just it's like high level of play. So if you're playing on like the rank ladder, this tier list also applies to you, unless you're like a brand new player or like a new player. But if you are a new player, this is still interesting advice. And so the decks higher up are still better. And this is playing at a solid level. It's not like highest level competitive, right? So if well, I mean, I'm not the best player in the world by any means. I'm not like that. I'm not a competitive player. I'm like a solid player, but this is a tier list of my level of skill, and a little above, a little below, which is like I'm a pretty average player. So then we have Dragapult EX here. We have two Dragapult decks. We have three Dragapult decks. Oh, I'm struggling to move these around. So Dragapult here, and then Dragapult Charizard, Dragapult Lost Zone. This Dragapult, I'll just say Dragapult Pidgeot. There's Dragapult Zadu, which I think is also grouped in here. This is Limitless's things. So yeah, that's going to be Dragapult Zadu or Pidgeot. And it's a pretty good deck. It's not an S tier deck, but it's an A tier deck. It's oh, is it an A tier? I thought it was an A tier for so long. It's just so powerful. Dragapult EX 200 to the active. Oh, and that's partially why Regidrago is so good. But 200 to the active, 6 damage kind of spread on your opponent's bench and where you like. I said Gardevoir can deal with spread. It's not so happy to deal with though. It can't always deal with it. So you can really mess with pre or with evolution decks by knocking out their pre-evolutions. No, well, evolution like EXs and if they have single price basics, is what I'm saying. Um, so it's really good. It's hard to counter, but it is awkward to set up, right? So I think the Pidgeot build is pretty good, though. It is vulnerable to certain things. Technical Machine Evolution, it has some issues, but once it's going, it's pretty much unstoppable. It has such a strong engine with Pidgeot EX. It's the best engine in the game, in my opinion. We'll talk about that later with Iron Thorns, which will counter it, but generally it's just really good. And yeah, so I think Dragapult's an A tier deck. Dragapult Charizard is a deck I don't really know much about. Also, I think it's like categorized weirdly on Limitless and then like other Limitless. But Charizard EX, it's really powerful Pokemon. Just really strong, can help power stuff up. It's really good. And that's really just quite simply what it is. And the Dragapult EX has its power with its ability to hit the bench or its attack, which lets it hit the bench. I really don't know much about this deck. I've not played it. I played against it a few times and I've lost to it, but it seems like I think it's good. I'll put it in B tier though. Certainly above Regidrago. I'd say there's probably a yeah. I'll put it here. This seems all right. So it's an okay deck. It's solid, but it has some issues here, like lots of stage twos, weaker engine, stuff like that. But it's good. I don't know if I'm undervaluing Charizard EX, but it's pretty good. Dragapult Lost Zone, I'm going to put in A tier as well. It's a really weird deck. The way I don't play any Mirage Gates in it. I haven't played it in a little while, but even if you do play Mirage Gates, you're not getting a ton of value out of them. It's weird. Dragapult's attack cost is 2 energies. Mirage Gate, sorry, it's well, 2, but then you probably attach. It's weird. It's a spread deck. I was gonna say it's a true spread deck. I don't know, but you have a lot of spread attackers, right? So you have well, you have Sableye, you have Cram, which isn't hitting super hard, and then you have Dragapult EX. So your opponent's going to really struggle to deal with all these different options, and you do probably have Radiant Charizard. Radiant Charizard's so good. It's good in Dragapult anyway, but it's really good in Lost Zone as well, so you can really make great use of those. I think Dragapult Lost Zone is a really solid deck. It's a weird deck as well. Dragapult Charizard and Dragapult Lost Zone are kind of like uh, a merging of a bunch of different decks, or well, 2 different decks. So, and Lost Zone's also a merging of 2 different decks, or a bunch of different. It has all. Lost Zone's really weird. But you just got a lot of weird stuff going on in Dragapult Lost Zone. It plays really weirdly whenever I play it. It feels like I'm kind of flailing around, and then all of a sudden, like I won. It's a weird deck, but it's a very good deck as well. So, yeah, not S tier though. I might rearrange the tiers a bunch. I'm gonna move these decks. I'm gonna do that. I decided I'm going to move a bunch of decks up. This might be like kind of silly because now we don't have any decks in the C and D tier, but that's fine. I'm sure we'll find something later. I might end up moving it back down. Pidgeot control and Snorlax stall or control. Snorlax like stall. Snorlax and Pidgeot are both have some amounts of stall and some amounts in control. I feel like they should be named the same. I don't understand why Limitless names them differently. Because stall is like like taking less damage, healing up, certain types of loops, things like that. And then control is generally just messing and removing your opponent's resources, including the resource to retreat. So anyway, but so Pidgeot here it's a pretty good attacker, or it's a pretty good deck. It is actually, believe it or not, a better attacker than you might think. In control, I've literally just had games where I just attack with Pidgeot over and over again. That's not common though, but it is really a really good Pokemon. You have a great ability. You have free retreat as well, which is so nice for stall loops. I think you actually probably stall loop more with Pidgeot control than Snorlax. But and you have the Blood Moon Ursaluna EX, which is so good for Pidgeot. That is like the big new thing. You also have Wellspring Mask Ogerpon EX. And that was Gardevoir. I was like, what's this deck in this other tab? But yeah, you have Wellspring Mask Ogerpon EX. You have which is nice. Wellspring Mask Ogerpon EX isn't that much better than Mawile. It's truly a different it has some like minor pros and minor cons. It's pretty similar though. But yeah, Pidgeot control really good. I'm gonna put it in S tier. Oh, that should be there. Yeah, I'll put it like this. This is like 3 S tier decks. I do think they are the 3 best decks in the. Oh, Dragapult's not that good. I'm gonna move Dragapult down to A tier. I'm gonna move I don't know, this is fine. We'll stick it like this for now. But Pidgeot Control is so good. Snorlax Stall here is a mediocre deck. So the big new card, if you don't know, is Accompanying Flute. What, that's the name? I like don't see this deck, which I'm so happy about. It's so not fun to play against. It's like Snorlax is probably the worst design card in standard right now. It's annoying, but that's not the only reason. The reason is because it's a reprint. They printed it once and it was like not fun. I think, I don't know. I didn't really play back then, but I can't imagine it was fun. I know in expanded it wasn't fun. I don't know about standard, but standard it was okay, but in expanded it was not fun. They're like, let's reprint it, and then they reprint it, and it's still not fun. Who could have guessed? So that's why I don't like that it didn't exactly reprint it, but they essentially did, which is it's kind of weird. I don't really know where they did that, but anyway, Accompanying Flute, it gets Pokemon from the top five cards your opponent's deck in basics and puts them onto the bench. It's random, but it does help. That being said, it's not that good. It's like a C tier deck. It's not that bad. Um, if your opponent knows how to play around it, it's not that good. Accompanying Flute does mean it's harder to play around there, so I'll put it in B tier. I do think it's worse than Raging Bull. I think it's worse than all these decks. So, um, yeah, I'll put it in B tier here. It's not a bad deck. Honestly, most of these new decks are pretty good. There's certainly some decks here, like lower down, that are not as good, I think. I think Toadschool is a new deck. Yeah, I'll put Toadschool. I'll add Toadschool here. I forgot. That's Toadschool with Grass Ogre Pond, and none of these other ones are new decks, I don't think. I think Gouging Fire plays Monkey Dory, but oh, Palafin. There we go. I forgot Palafin. It was one of the decks of Walking Wake. I've never seen anyone play that. So we need to talk about Palafin as well. Greninja EX here is solid. It's weird. If you play it with like a control deck, it's really good, but that's Pidgeot control, right? So I'm gonna say that's a different deck. Which by the way, I think it might be the best deck in the game. It's really good. Greninja EX with Pidgeot EX and a bunch of other control options. But Greninja EX by itself, like with Frostlass, so we'll just say this is Greninja EX Frostlass. That deck's so inconsistent. I mean, it's not the worst, but it's kind of sketchy. It's so slow too. It's annoying because its process is so slow and live. It's just the way the card's designed. But anyway, Greninja, it's a spread attacker. It's really good. It's a really good Pokemon, but right now it's just not that good. In terms of its damage, it's a little short. Raging Bolt is pretty popular still. That just one shot all your Greninjas. It's not gonna end well for you. Then like you're looking at Dragapult, really popular. They're just gonna destroy your bench. It's gonna be brutal. Gardevoir is so bad you can't attack with Greninja EX because you're weak to Psychic, so you're just gonna get obliterated, and then they're gonna heal off all the damage with the Monkey Dory and Cresselia, so you're just gonna get it's so bad. So theoretically, it's not that bad of a deck. It has some consistency issues, being a stage 2 as your main attacker, but you need support from realistically multiple stage 1 and multiple Frostlasses to get enough damage, which places damage counters on Pokemon with abilities. You can also damage your own Pokemon, which is bad. It doesn't damage your own Frostlasses, but if you need Rotom V, which you probably play in the early game, you're damaging that. You need to get that out of play, which is awkward. Not that hard, but it's going to take you probably a turn, and it's not control. So you don't just have free turns. You might have free turns, but you certainly don't always have free turns. So it might just get knocked out. That's very common. Your Rotom V just gets knocked out. Your opponent hits it for like 100, and it accumulates 90 damage, and it just like dies. And then you have Manaphy. And Manaphy, if you're against a spread deck, you need Manaphy, but then you're gonna knock it out in like 2 turns. So it theoretically could be good, but when you look at its matchups and everything that's going on, it's so bad. It's not like that. It's not in the D tier, but it's not very good. Quad Iron Thorns EX here. Quad decks are what are quad? I mean, quad decks. It's like 4 of a Pokemon, right? Usually 4 of a basic. Because if it's like a stage 1, then or like a VMAX or V Star or whatever, then it's not. Isn't really quad. Anyway, Quad Iron Thorns 4 Iron Thorns EX, which does it ability locks your opponent's rulebox Pokemon, which is annoying. It's really good against Pidgeot control. It's good. It's good against like Charizard. It's good against Gardevoir, I guess. I don't know. This deck's like okay. Unfortunately, it's like terrible against other decks, and it's matchup spread's more even than you'd expect for a deck that doesn't like do anything. But yeah, you can't really attack. It's a pretty rough deck on its own. Looking at the tournament database, it did get played a little. But it's not. It really struggles because you you like can't really attack very well. You also send the energies to your bench. It's so sketchy. It's not like that bad, I guess, but it's not very good either. Your damage output's just not very high, and you're gonna struggle. You get certain auto win, like you auto win against Lugia because they can't Lugia or Caps, or then they can't do anything because you Iron Thorns them. But even like Charizard, they can slowly build up a Charizard, and like, what do you do about it, right? You three-shot Charizard EX. You can I don't even know what it plays. I don't think you can two-shot it. So you're just gonna be like sitting there. You just don't really have control over the game. Yeah, I think a deck where you just can't really do much is not good. I am someone who likes, so I mean, I play control. I like to be able to, literally control the game, and be able to do stuff. I don't like Snorlax. Some people would probably say that's why Snorlax is not a control deck, because you're not really controlling everything that's happening. You're not in control of your own stuff as much, honestly. But yeah, with Iron Thorns, you are like completely out of control because you don't have any. You don't have any Pokemon. You just have Iron Thorns. It's not like completely. It's not very good. Um, Next, we got Future Thorns as well. This is like a future box deck with Iron Thorns EX and Mind of Iron Hands EX. I was looking on Limitless for a video I'm making coming up, and I don't know the difference between Future Box and Future Thorns and like Future Hands. They all look the same. Limitless is weird. I mean, I generally get the difference, but so you have the Iron Hands EX, and then you have Iron Thorns EX. So you can ability lock. This is much better. I mean, it's not that good. I'm going to put it in the bottom of B tier. This is Trainer Hill. I don't remember if I said that, but that can be a little finicky with its tier lists, but the tier lists are already made, so it's easier to, or the tier list makers are already made, so it's easier to work with. Future Thorns, though, you have the Iron Thorns. You actually have the benefits of that, and you could just go Quad Iron Thorns. There are times, though, you won't always start it. You won't often start it, so if you really need Iron Thorns, like in Lugia's now not an auto win, and so now you can lose that matchup. And that is like tricky. I haven't played the deck at all, and I don't think I've seen the deck either on ladder. But and by the way, the deck's getting less, played as time goes on. Future Thorns, though, it's pretty it's all right. If you like future decks, it's probably the best way to play it. Put in some Iron Thorns EX, put in some Iron Hands EX, and just go with that against single prizes. Your Iron Hands against multi prizes against certain things that Iron Thorns beats your Iron Thorns, and against other things. Those be most things. You're hopefully all good, or maybe not. Who knows? But I think it's all right. You can actually do stuff, right? So that's good. Then we have Blissey. Blissey EX is one of my favorite decks, I guess. It's one of my favorites to play. It does focus around, well, of course, Blissey EX, but also Monkey Dory, and you have this like healing thing going on. It has some consistency issues. It's not really it's not always attacking turn two. It's often not attacking turn two, but you are going to be able to do solid damage, and then you're going to be able to tank a lot, which is really nice. That being said, it's probably a C tier deck. I hate to admit it, but it's not that good. It's going to go above Greninja and Iron Thorns, but it's not that good. It struggles to really get stuff done. It does have counters. I play Mimikyu and Crystal Masquerade upon the EX in the list. A lot of lists run one or the other, and that allows you to counter a lot of stuff, and so I'm able to get like cheap wins there. But then you need to kind of play a little carefully, but you just kind of do your damage and stuff. It's a healing deck. It's the best healing deck in the game. It's the only healing deck in the game. I mean, Gardevoir is kind of a healing deck, but not really. It's okay. Blissey is it's a fun deck. Yeah. I hate to say that it's not that good, but it's not that good. Dipplin and Thwackey is also not that good. It's not going to end up in D tier. Isn't going to end up in D tier. Dipplin and Thwackey is so sketchy. So you have Dipplin, which attacks twice if you have a certain stadium in play, which is essentially a useless stadium as well. It like recovers from special conditions, which is so niche. And it's not like you're special conditioning yourself anyway. And then you have Thwackey, which lets you search for any card for each Thwackey you have in play, which is so one Thwackey. Each Thwackey searches for a card. So you can search for multiple cards every turn, but only if the Dipplin or a few other basics are in the active. But the basics don't evolve into anything that you want. So this is so sketchy. You go from like being able to do nothing to being able to do literally everything that you want in your entire deck in no time. And then you go back to being able to do nothing again. It's so sketchy. When things go well, they go so well. Your damage output is solid. It's great for a single prizer. Um, it's just so weird feeling. And things just come crumbling down, or they just don't get set up. So I'm gonna put it. Now I'm gonna put in D tier. It's so rough. Unfortunately, single prizes aren't very good right now, and this is the only single prize deck on the list. There's Lost. Oh no, those are definitely aren't single prize decks. There's Snorlax, but like, it's it's kind of different. Um, so yeah, Dipplin and Thwackey is not the best deck in the game. I hate to be a bearer of bad news, but yeah, if you I'm gonna look. So this is the there's two tournament databases. This is the smaller, I guess I'd say more competitive tournament. Or there's actually three tournament databases. This is the most competitive of them. Dipplin, let's pull it up. Yeah, it's not there. So yeah, people have played it in like smaller tournaments, but or in other tournaments, it certainly has been played, has seen very minor amounts of success, but probably less than all these other decks. And yeah, it's not very good. You know, you're just not able to your payoff is like a very solid single prizer, which is fine, but like, um, you're gonna have to, you need to get a little lucky. You need to get multiple stage ones set up, and then you can start going. But if you don't have that, then you can't do anything. It's so weird. Your engine only works once you're set up. So things are either really good or really bad, and you don't need that. You just want them to be okay, and they're never okay. So yeah. Then we have Luxray. I probably should have grouped this in Pidgeot Control. Luxray is so weird. It's kind of like Pidgeot Control. It's a card or a deck I'm not that familiar with. I've played against it a good few times, though. I really should play this card. I think it's not that good. I think it's much worse than Pidgeot Control. I'm going to put it in C tier. I don't think it's a terrible deck. Um, yeah, I'm going to move Reasonable Ogerpon below Snorlax. Snorlax isn't fun, but it's better than Reasonable Ogerpon. It's better than Regidrago too. So yeah, Luxray is what it does it discards your opponent wheels their hand. Oh, you discard any card you find there. I always think it's a trainer. Luxray V is a trainer, which is really the main cards you want to be getting rid of, but there are times when you want other cards, I guess. I guess the best thing is double turbo energy, but this deck's so niche. But it's okay, I guess. It's like Pidgeot Control. It's like a weaker Pidgeot Control. I definitely play Greninja EX over Luxray EX, but yeah, it's all right, I guess. Um, yeah, that's fine. And then Toadschool. How's Toadschool work? Toadschool, it's a grass ramp attacker where you get lots of grass energy in play, but I don't know. Like I haven't seen anyone play this deck. Uh, I don't think. I mean, I've seen people play it. I haven't seen them play it with it plays the new Grass Ogre So, Sinistcha Ogre Oh, I should rate that deck too. Where is that deck? I can't find it. Sinistcha Ogre There we go. Sinistcha Ogre will do just right after this. But where is Toadschool? There we go. So it does this. Yeah, so it's just the Grass Ogre Pond. You can move energies around. This seems so clunky. Like Toadschool's known for being not good. It's like it's not that bad, but it's like a weird countery card. It mostly counters Charizard EX, but Charizard EX isn't that played right now. So, yeah, this unfortunately is not very good. It's gonna go. It's the worst deck on this tier list, definitely. Then we have Sinistcha Ogre Sinistcha single prizer with the Ogerpon EX. Pretty interesting deck, to be honest. It's okay. It's a single prizer, but you have low HP. You have just a lot of weaknesses. I don't think it's that bad, but I'm going to put it in C tier. I played against it some, and it doesn't seem that good. I don't have quite enough experience to give a lot of specifics, unfortunately, but it's a pretty underwhelming / mediocre deck. So yeah, the Palafin is a deck I've been playing recently a little bit. I think it's fixed so far. So the reason this is so low, if you look at the online tournaments, the it's the 44th most played deck, and when realistically in normally it would be top 10 played. Normally, maybe not top 10, but at least top 20. Like um there's 3 Dragapult builds in the top 20. Like, so even if it's not as popular as Dragapult, it's at least the popular, like, should be close to that. Palafin EX, you need to switch in and you need to switch out of the active, then back in. It's just weird. But it's not that hard to play. Well, okay. The reason, so if you don't know, it didn't work on Pokemon DHD Live. It crashed the game. Did it crash? I don't really know what happened, but it was bad. It was really bad. Things would get all bad. It would like the game could freeze. The game, I think it was also freezing at this time, but that was also separate. But the game would like it could freeze up, and your cards would like your cards. Your I think your Palafin EXs turned into like Gyarados and switches and Buddy Buddy Palafins and stuff. It was really weird. And Professor's Research, I don't know. I don't really know what they managed to do with it, but it was so bad. So you just couldn't play it essentially. Your game would just stop working. So Palafin EX though now I think it does work. And it's pretty good honestly. I've only played a few games with it, but it's felt super solid, assuming that you're able to keep going throughout the course of the game. What do I mean by this? You need to be going late game. So the same issue with Regidrago Ogerpon, we don't have a late game engine. You need to watch out for that with Palafin. So notably though, you need to be able to switch every turn. You need to switch really out out of the active back into the active every single turn, no matter if your attack was knocked out or if it wasn't knocked out. That's a minor simplification, but it's not that bad. So it's not that much more complicated than it. So that's what you do, and that's something you have to do. That's kind of awkward. How do you do that? I'm not exactly sure. I played it with Gengar. I've seen some people played it with Gengar online as well, and I think that feels really good. I tried the Dunsparce. That seemed kind of sketchy, and this is the deck that I think's been at least proven in, or at least played in general, because you just couldn't play it for a while. But it's pretty good. Its raw stats are so good. Like they're just the best in the game, like by far. It's at 340 HP. Is tied for the highest, but it's at stage 1, so it's absurd. And then you do 250 damage for 1 energy. Greninja EX does 170 for 1 energy, and that's insane. Of course, there is a downside to Palafin EX's attack and an upside to Greninja EX's attack, but still, Palafin so good. So I think Gengar's nice, and it's not that hard to set up. It's a little awkward though, but it's usually than you'd expect. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I'm gonna put it in top of B tier, honestly. Now that I played it, I think that's fair. That seems fair. Palafin is shockingly good, especially against basic 2 prizes. Against basic, well, okay, Reasonable Ogerpot, I don't really know how that would go, because they'll take the first prize and they're going to knock out a single prizer, but if you just take a knockout every turn, you'll win. It's a weird matchup, but ignoring that one, if you're against like I don't know, most decks play like Rotom V, Lumineon V, Squawkabilly EX, or something like that. At least one of those Pokemon, you can just one-shot them. But that's really nice, and it's really good. Also, it beats Control. If you're playing Gengar, you always beat Control. That's fun. But well, you probably always beat Control. So you Palafin, and then you just like go. And hopefully they don't one-shot you. And a lot of decks struggle to one-shot you, and you are just gonna be doing really big damage. I think it's really solid. I don't quite know if it's good enough, but it's a really cool deck and really fun attacker. I think it has serious potential. I thought the card was going to be super broken when it was revealed. And it was not in the way I was expecting, but it was. It broke the game. But yeah, now I think people are going to finally try it out this like upcoming month. I think you'll see a bunch of play, and I'm really excited. But anyway, that's all for today's video. As I said earlier, consider subscribing and liking the video, and checking out my other content as well, because I have a wide variety of content all about the Pokemon TCG. But I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.